promoting the free exchange of ideas, questioning the status quo, and having some fun along the way. This is the Are We Idiots Show. Now here are your hosts, Mark Weaver and Rich Kroll.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Are We Idiots Show. We are your hosts, as always, Rich Kroll and Mark Weaver. I turned it around. I told you I'd do it again.
You know, you're really giving me equal billing, which I appreciate because I'm way funnier than you. And here's something I will point out. My apologies over the last several months. I keep saying this from Havertown, this from Havertown. Mark wants me to be a little more global, so I'll say welcome from southeastern Pennsylvania.
How about just the great old USA?
The great United States of America.
And actually, it might be more appropriate today to welcome you from Mo, Larry, and Curly, because we actually have a guest in the studio for the first time today.
Very exciting.
And we all know who Curly would be.
Has to be me.
Follically challenged.
I'm glad you didn't call me Shrek.
And me with my forehead and my haircut might be Mo, right?
You are definitely a Mo.
But no, Scott Brown's in the studio with us today, and we're going to introduce him in a few minutes. Let me just ask for a quick reminder to please share our show on Facebook. Scott's going to talk about his Facebook page, and he's going to be sharing our show. But we need our listeners to go out there and share our show on Facebook. It's very simple. Go into iTunes, go down at the end of the episode, click share, and then click on the Facebook icon and share the episode. Pick your favorite episode and do it.
Do you know you just used the word share like 9 times?
It's like you and listen.
I do say listen a lot. That gets people's attention. Listen.
But anyhow, so in the annals of media, there was the Beatles.
Annals or anals?
No, we won't go there. The annals of media, there was the Beatles on Ed Sullivan Show, and now we have Scott Brown on the Are We Idiots Show. It's very equal.
Scott Brown, Brownie, good friend of mine over the last 30 years, large mammalian type of guy. We go way back. Real glad to have you here today.
So welcome, Scott, and we'll look forward to hearing about your venture here in a couple of minutes.
All right.
So we're going to have the Idiot of the Week award, as always, and then we're going to talk about, and we're going to ask the question, can we please have some more courtesy in this world?
Ooh, I
How's
like
that?
how you worked that in.
That was very slick, wasn't it? But we're not going to have a closing segment because we're going to talk a lot to Scott. So that's it for this week. Idiot of the Week award, which Rich is going to give us some nominees now, and I think he may even bring Brownie into that. And then we're going to talk about having more courtesy. So, Richie, without any further ado, let's hear it.
So, yes, I'm actually throwing a twist into the show because we have an honored guest. I'm going to do the first nominee, and I'm going to have Brownie do the second nominee. And we'll go from there. So the first nominee, and I'm breaking a cardinal rule like you like to. I have a video of this, which is just mind-blowing. So, as you know, we're all familiar with ATMs.
We are.
Right? We used to call them Mac machines, but they're actually, what does ATM stand for?
Automatic teller machine.
Very good, right? Money machines. So these machines, as you may or may not know, are very well designed to take an extreme beating. I mean, a Tyrannosaurus Rex couldn't chew one of these things open, right? And they're made that way specifically. So, a Maryland man recently learned this lesson the hard way. He stole a backhoe, drove it 5 miles to a Bank of America ATM.
Sure.
And this is on, ATMs
are closed caption video, right?
360 degrees
Security
of cameras.
camera, right?
The guy pulls up. And you know what a drive-through looks like? You got lanes, you got these fortress-like ATMs.
Right.
He takes this backhoe and he rips the thing out of its socket, breaks the whole thing apart, and then there's a little red box, like maybe like a black box for an airplane, which can withstand an airplane crash. Right. And he's pummeling this thing, pummeling it, smashing it. He doesn't break it open. So, when the police in Prince George's County released a surveillance camera, he doesn't get it done. He did cause $10,000 in damage. They won't name his name, but he's now in custody for questioning.
I wouldn't even know how to drive a backhoe, by the way, if I stole one.
Here's the picture. Here's the picture.
Oh, my goodness. All right, so whoever you, Mr. Backhoe Bank Thief, you are our nominee number one. Brownie, let's hear nominee number two.
All right, so it was based on a video that I saw. It went viral. A adjunct assistant, maybe even full-blown professor from Purdue University was on Tucker Carlson.
A
Fox.
Boilermaker.
A Boilermaker. Prestigious university, no longer one of the institutes I would ever promote because of this. This professor accepted the students' request to change the style guide for Purdue to exclude the word man.
M-A-N.
M-A-N, in any sense or fashion.
Well, that
Not
is
just-
offensive. I mean, come on. You don't want to offend anyone.
I agree. We are men and women and others now. We can choose to be whatever we choose to
Yes,
be.
we can.
can.
Choose.
And because of that, we should change the word man. In fact, eliminate it to the point of where they want to exclude Manchester, UK. And the
This world's gone insane.
whether it's Person-Chester, whatever, Manhattan. Tucker Carlson was in Manhattan, and the person said, "Yeah, we should change the name to maybe Person-Hatton or some other Hatton." And
Woman?
no, woe person. maybe.
Because
Whoa, person.
they,
yeah.
they, them, her, him.
Well, of
But-
course, there is no such thing as gender, so why wouldn't we do this?
Well, the funniest thing was when Tucker said, "Should we ban Goldman Sachs?" And she says, "Well, I'll never shop there." And that's what got me because
Goldman Sachs Fifth Avenue?
Yes,
Sounds like a Jeopardy munching of the words. Listen, this could go so many directions. So think about this, and a lot of things popped into my head. So one of my favorite songs, "Blinded by the Light," big '70s song, right?
Yeah.
Manfred Mann. We'd have to say "Blinded by the Light" was by the Fred Person Earth Band.
The person formerly known as Manfred Mann.
Right? Think about other things. So I'm a regional sales manager. You've been a regional sales manager. In our title, we are now regional sales personagers. It gets even crazy when you think about it. My wife is now, when she goes to get her nails done, is going to go to a personicurist. If you read the Bible, in the Gospels,
Person of curious.
Jesus says, "I'm the Son of Man," many times. He is now the Son of Person. Picture changing, "I am the Son of Person." I mean, have we completely lost our minds?
yes.
Well, just take away the PC culture. How about biology? Doesn't biology have millions and billions of years of history of needing one male and one female to perpetuate the species? I mean, take all the PC out of it. Biology will dictate that there's two different sexes. Good grief.
Good grief.
So
I'm not going
those
to comment any further. on that.
any
You started
further
enough.
any further anecdotes to your nominee, Brownie?
No, but none at all.
Well, I'm gonna the Purdue professor. I don't know what her name is or what have you. But I hope it didn't pass, by the way. But I'm gonna nominate her and send her the $1 bill for the idiot of the week.
Send it to the scholarship fund for the style
The mentally
guide at
challenged.
Yeah.
Oh my
Purdue
goodness.
University.
Okay, so we're going to transition now to the question we ask on today's show. Can we have some more courtesy, please? And this idea originated with Rich and I talking about the idiots on the road a lot, and then our friend Whitey wrote in with a really substantive input on how we might approach a show about cars and road rage and all the idiots on the road. Our buddy Dog also gave some ideas. He thinks cars shouldn't be allowed to go over the speed limit by law, and they shouldn't be able to have phones that work in the car. I think he's crazy on that, by the way. Dog, I love you, but, I'm for freedom.
Solid ideas, by the way.
But anyhow, so that's where it's originated. And then Rich knows Brownie and knew about this venture that he was planning. And I love people that see a problem and just take the bull by the you-know-what and do something about it. So Brownie's doing something about it. And Rich said, hey, let's combine two things. There's lots of synergy here. Let's get it together. So I think that's how it came about, right, Richie?
Yeah, I had lunch with Brownie a couple of weeks ago, just catching up in life, and I told him a little anecdote about, would you believe this guy was tailgating me? And then there was another guy who wouldn't yield. And then, person on this, all these things. He goes, as a matter of fact, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I'm starting a website and a Facebook page to address it. So, Brownie, we'll hand over to you. Explain what we just explained, how it led to what you're doing and what you're actually doing.
Sure. So it started off with me trying to get a parking spot for jury duty in Westchester, and a big black SUV had taken up 2 small car spots to park there, clearly intentional. And instead of getting frustrated and
Because
angry,
it's such a nice SUV.
yes,
So don't scratch it.
let's
I'm
go
better
back.
than
Let's
everybody.
go back to our entitlement session.
I'm going to be angry through this whole show, I think.
Yeah. Well,
It's about time.
you need to join Courtesy. So I took a picture just for humor. So can you believe that this is what this person did? I wish I had some tickets. I would ticket her, write a note.
or him. We don't know.
Or him. Well, sorry.
Not a man or a woman, though. The person. You would
Yes,
ticket the person.
Yes. And I thought it would be great if I had a fake ticket book and I could write a ticket to this person. And then it started snowballing from there, where you can, it was just it was a breakdown of basic car courtesy. So that's why I called this site and this movement Courtesy. So car courtesy.
I like it.
And thank you.
Did you really have to explain that to that level?
Well-
we get it.
What's the name of this show?
Are we idiots?
Okay, thank you. So
Good point.
All right, and so from there, I started a Facebook page just for people to take pictures and post what's annoying them versus doing something rash, crude, confronting someone.
Shooting people,
Yeah, just yelling at an old lady who didn't know better, or man, didn't know what he was doing or how they were parking. I'll take my wife out of this at all because she's a great parker.
I heard about her parking.
So that's where it started. And ultimately, we're going to have a website where you can log on, gain points for the violations you write, sticky notes, different pre-printed tickets. So there's nothing offensive to write. You just check off boxes and a value of the point value to the ticket. The person who's got this violation on the windshield can log in to Courtesy and say, oh my gosh, I have 5 violations here. It's my car, it's picture, is there, it's proof. What do I do? You can then wipe out your record by doing things right, getting proof of doing something right, or doing another violation. So you can now become a police officer, if you will, for Courtesy, and give other people violations. Or just publicly apologize. And those are ways of
genuflect.
Yeah, genuflect. But that's in the works. But right now, it's just collecting, it's through humor, and I don't want to say public humiliation, but calling out, educating each other, just having fun with it, and posting it cleanly on the site, as a means of social harmony, using social media as a form of breaking tensions and making things right.
So I was going to say, in a way, it's shaming somebody into doing the right thing, and I'm okay with that because there's so many idiots and egregious people on the road. So all of a sudden, if I'm driving down the left lane of the highway at 32 miles an hour, I go, oh, wait a minute.
That never happens.
Well, not me.
That never
It
happens.
definitely doesn't happen with you, Mr. Fast Car, Red Car driver. Oh, there could be somebody behind me taking a picture of my car and license plate and putting it on Courtesy. I better get out of the left lane or drive the speed limit, right? Or, hey, I own the road. I'm not going to follow this yield sign. Even though there's 100 cars bumper to bumper in the right lane, yield means, for a lot of people, Brownie, Weave, speed up, right? It's funny how yield now means speed up and aggressively jam in front of the car in front of you
When they're merging, you mean?
when they're merging.
That's my number one pet peeve.
Is that your number one?
Number one pet peeve.
And that's
No
one of
one,
them.
no one is taught that yield means you're supposed to wait until a spot opens up for you to go, not that the person in that lane has to move over to make room for you. It's maddening.
It is maddening. So now all of a sudden, I might say to myself, before I aggressively blow through this yield sign, wait a minute, somebody could be taking a picture of me in my car and putting it on Courtesy.
So let me
Is
ask you.
that basically
But
the...
no drivers. We mentioned that specifically in our about in our page.
You shouldn't be doing
You
it
should
while you're
not be-
driving.
Yeah,
Right.
we're not complete morons, and I pretty much say it. If you get in an accident or cause an accident because you're taking a picture or a video while you're driving, you're an idiot.
So you've actually maybe you should take a picture of yourself in that case.
Exactly.
And then post yourself to Cardiff.
Find yourself.
And find yourself.
Yes.
So, but there's a lot of moving violations that are you're more offensive and infuriating than parking. So maybe you could do it like Waze, right? Waze is great. I use Waze now for all my directions, and it asks you, although I guess you can just push the passenger button and still do it while you're driving. But maybe your counterpart, you're in the front seat, can take the picture.
Absolutely.
Okay, because I see this being even more effective for actual moving violations. Tailgaters, yield runners, stop sign runners, red light runners, where, you want to capture that, but you don't want to do it while you're driving.
Correct. And to Weave's point, like the merging, a lot of people are oblivious to any law or requirement for their license, and
Right.
Courtesy is one of those things. It's like an unwritten rule, but driving slow in the left lane. We just posted, I think yesterday, did you know? So we'll have like a weekly did you know? And like this one was police will
Ticket you.
ticket you and are starting to crack down on people driving slow in the left lane and not passing. And so, it's also educational. Not just
Here's another
humiliation.
one.
I actually think that most people are not aware of the rules. I don't think it's necessarily purposeful. I mean, obviously, someone tailgating and driving crazy and aggressively, that's a different story, or speeding even. That's intentional. But I don't think a lot of people know these rules. The left lane one, the merge one, I think they were taught wrong. And my dad was a driver ed instructor for 30 years, by the way.
And again, to
Which
that
didn't
point,
make you a good driver, by the way.
Ouch, I'm a very good driver. No accidents in 40 years of driving, almost.
Well,
that's,
you used
that's
to
an
be
exceptional
terrible.
driver. But to not knowing the laws, but a lot of people do, and it ties back to one of your previous segments of like immediate gratification.
Right.
Getting to point A to point B. There's also there's a big thing that people in the left lane jam on their brakes because they want to teach you how to be slower. Instead of just moving over and letting you pass. That's what we're trying to stop. Is like there's passive aggressive as well as aggressive.
So I have a question about. I buy a lot of cars and used cars, and on Craigslist, people have taken to blacking out or graying out their license plate. So, is there a danger of your people posting people's license plate number? Could that potentially allow people to exploit their personal information?
That's a great question. So that's why we haven't launched our site yet. And one of those, we are researching the immediate searches that I've done and research that I've done show that your license plate is not your license plate. It's a public, you don't own it.
Right.
So it is public information. It is a public badge. It's like it's close to having Saab on your car and having, branding. Having
Was the word man in that?
They were going to advertise on our show. Now it's
done.
dead.
I'm sorry.
If Saab means
Scania.
man in Swedish, we're going to have to change it to persona.
Yes. But thank you.
Yeah,
So
but,
we are
but
looking
can it
at
be
that.
linked back, even if it's quote a public entity or a public number that is lent to you? Can it be linked back to your personal information? I guess that's my question.
Well,
I don't
it's
know.
public. Well, if I were to search my license plate right now
Right?
on Google, it'll give you my name, address.
Really?
Yes. It's linked to
That's bad.
It's linked to the car. I can actually pay and interact with the Department of Motor Vehicles and you can search license plates. Eventually, you can put your license plate tag in, and that would be your badge. That would be your username and login. It's free. It's free information.
I think we should tighten that up. But hey, who am I?
Yeah, that's why we're trying.
Who are
not
you?
to
Who are
use-
you, by the way?
I don't know. I think that it's an admirable goal that you have, because I'm for practical and non-governmental solutions to things, and I think this transparency, for lack of a better word, is much akin to like the body cams for cops. I think body cameras are great for the victims of police brutality and are great for cops that get accused falsely. So I think any kind of transparency is the best way to inhibit poor behavior. And I think that this is a great idea for that. The question is, how to best go about it. And it sounds like you're down the path pretty well.
Thank you.
So this is one of my pet peeve topics of all time. It takes a lot for me to get angry. I'm pretty even keeled. I think I have pretty thick skin, but I admit I probably get the most irritated or angered on the road. It's almost as if.
What's your top 3?
So, my top 3 are tailgating, like just blatant tailgating, when you're not doing anything wrong, especially if it's in the right lane. If you're in the right lane of the highway and somebody's right up on you.
At high speed, especially.
At high speed. Or if somebody tailgating through a school zone. That might be the worst one, right? It's 15 miles an hour and there's little kids and someone's right up on you because they're not paying attention. Maybe they don't even know. So certain tailgating, I hate to admit this, but I've actually gotten out of the car 4 times in my life. 3, I got my point across. 1, I would have got killed. So I can get into some of this.
That's dangerous nowadays.
It's
though,
dangerous.
With all the guns.
So I highly recommend not getting out of the car. But I am 6'3", 240 pounds, so sometimes I want to show somebody.
240, yeah.
Nick Carapace.
I'm actually down to 230, by the way. I said 240 because I know you'd bust my chops. But the point is, don't get out of your car. But when you get pushed over the top, most of us have gotten out of the car at some time in our life. So that tailgating is number 1. I would say yielding.
The yield merge.
Yield actually blowing through a yield merge is number 2. And my new one is you're on a left turn signal. I guess it would be a left turn signal. Mm-hmm. And if you're not on the busy part of the turn and the other intersection is the busier one, you might only get 20 seconds of left turning time.
And they're not ready.
They're not ready
on their
because
phone.
they're on their phone.
Right. Yep.
And, I'll give a little courtesy beep, But here's my 4th one. Here's my overarching is when someone's egregiously wrong and then they get in your face, F you, give you the finger, and they get aggressive. So they're wrong and then they get aggressive. They were the few times I did get out of the car.
How about texting and driving? I've seen guys doing 90 miles an hour and with the phone in between the top of the wheel texting. Texting while driving is rampant. And a lot of young girls do it too. So that's right up there with me. The other one I have, because I have a 4-wheel drive vehicle in the winter, is guys with 4-wheel drive vehicles when it's snowing and they're barreling at regular speed and they don't realize that you can't stop any better in a 4-wheel drive vehicle. You can just go better. So that's another pet peeve of mine on the roads.
Brownie, what are your top 3?
Well, I guess my top. Okay, so I'm using a couple of yours, but I'm going to say separate of yours is people that block the grid. They are at a stoplight. You're not going to make it through the merge, but you want to get in there while it's still green, and then it turns red, and now you've blocked lanes of traffic.
Typically in rush hour, right?
4-way stop sign.
And now everybody's...
And then they panic, right? And they panic and they stay there?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. And so don't block the grid.
Gridlock.
If 50 feet in front of you is still backed up, but it's green, just wait.
But they'll save 60 seconds getting home, Brownie.
Well, they may not, but yes, it's true. So that's one. I do like the tailgating is a huge pet peeve of mine. Even if I'm in the left lane, I don't tailgate on the car next to me. I don't flash. I don't honk. They'll recognize it and realize it. So tailgating is bad. And blocking the grid. But the other thing isn't necessarily something that aggravates me because it's anyone's fault. I think it's more of an educational thing. And that's like one-lane bridges or one-lane roads. People go one to one to one. There's a thing called a queue. So it's usually like 10 cars deep or maybe more. You let those cars that are at that queue line pass through, and then that next car outside that queue line goes up and stops at the tunnel and allows another 10 cars to go. So I think people need to, that's a government thing. It's an education thing. Is people just going one to one and not queuing drives me absolutely crazy. It'll save you so much more time if you let 10 cars go through at a time versus one to one to one to one.
So I got 2 stories that match up with both of what you just said.
And I got a story too.
So I'll go in order. So your pet peeve, Mark, about 4-wheel drive guys going 100 miles an hour in snowstorms or whatever. This is one I witnessed, and to this day, I'm not sure if this young lady's still alive. So I was going down 476, the Blue Route, and I forget why I had to be on the road. something important for work, and schools weren't necessarily shut down, but it was getting bad. And there was like 6-8 inches of snow on the Blue Route, and they weren't prepared for it. So I'm going 30 miles an hour, and you couldn't even see the lines. And there's 18-wheel trucks. There wasn't that many people on the road, but it's really dangerous. I mean, really dangerous. And all of a sudden, in my rearview mirror, I see this red car, probably going 70 to 80 miles an hour. Not a car meant for the snow. It's a young girl, probably 22-ish. She rips by me, and her license plate says Wild Thing. Now,
There's your first clue.
2 miles later, I see her
she's in
car.
a ditch.
She did a 720 double spin across the highway and is in the middle of the highway facing oncoming traffic.
Right.
Luckily,
People stop.
well, there wasn't that much traffic, so people went around her. Wouldn't you know it? 3 miles down the road, she came barreling down the left lane again at 70 miles an hour, past me again, and I had to get off the exit. And I thought, if you don't learn a lesson from that, so I would have loved to taken not just a snapshot, a video, and posted her all over the place. Quickly, the second one, the Q courtesy. This one, I got my little daughter, maybe in kindergarten, and I'm taking her to her school. And ironically, we're studying in the car for a Bible test. And I come up to a Q situation, a one-lane bridge, and I let the first guy go. Now, it's rush hour. The second guy follows closely behind him. I'm like, okay, you got me. You slipped it in there. Then another guy in a big white painting truck van. He sees me waiting there. He muscles to go, and I start to go. We kind of come to an impasse, but he's got the bigger truck, and I'm near the end. So as he's coming towards me, I gave him the two-handed
Right.
out, like, yo, dude.
Of course, he flipped you off, right?
He pulls right up
F-bomb.
next to me. My daughter's looking at him, and he gives me the double bird. Now, I lose my mind, and I'm like, hold on, sweetie. We'll get to John 137 in a minute. Let me hold on for that. And I act completely the opposite. I do a wicked.
You turned the other cheek, right?
I
Like the
turn
Bible
the
tells
other
you.
cheek. That's what I thought it means. Quick 3-point turn. I pull up to the guy. He stopped at a light. It's a long light. I know it's a long light. I get out of the car. I go, really? Really? Double burden my daughter when you were wrong? He rolls the window up. He won't look at me. And then he grabs his cell phone to probably courtesy me. But anyway, the point was I never got out of the car again because who knows?
don't do
I
that.
could have had a gun.
Don't do that. I don't want to get another co-host for the show at this point. You're going to get killed doing that.
Brownie might become the new co-host.
You can go ahead.
He
keep doing it,
messaged
Rick.
me. He messaged me. He said that's his long-term goal. Get you out of here.
All right, so you give me some stories. Give me
Quick
some
story
stories.
with. It didn't happen to me, but it was a great reaction. So my dad, driver ed instructor, and all growing up, he was constantly editorializing from the time I was 4 years old about everyone on the road, what they're doing wrong, whatever. So this has been ingrained in me for 50 years at this point. But my dad's coming home. He was a school teacher, coming home on his motorcycle. And motorcycles, people pull out on motorcycles. They look right through them. So this guy, right in Havertown, coming up Darby Road, I'm going to be provincial like you, and he pulls out on my dad, and my dad has to make evasive action, and the guy just goes up to the next light. So my dad pulls up to him on the motorcycle. It's summer. The guy's window's open. My dad stops next to him on the motorcycle and looks at him and says, "That wasn't very nice." And the guy, dead serious, turns to my dad and says, "I never claimed to be nice." Which I thought was a great. And my dad was like, "How can I respond to that?" Okay, you didn't claim to be nice. Brownie, you have any stories?
I just have a funny story. I'm not gonna. I've never gotten out of my car.
Yeah,
I've
right.
never gotten angry. But no, a good humorous story is we were all in a van doing a work thing, and our driver was driving down the street in Philly, made a left on the wrong way on a one-way street, and we're all yelling, "Fritz, you're going the wrong way." It's one way.
Wrong way.
Planes, trains, and automobiles.
It's a one-way street. And he goes, "I'm only going one way." And just went through the rest of the thing to find the next turn and get out of it. But yeah,
One of my favorite scenes in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yes.
And then
You're
the
going
car
wrong
guy,
direction.
the driver going down the wrong way, looks to John Candy, and he gives him the boozing, the boozing sign with the hand to the mouth. Great scene.
So, any other stories before we move along?
It's bad. Weave, I think you're right. I think, we took our driving tests 75 years ago, right? And
It's kind of a low bar, by the way, too. When you think about everyone can, it's a deadly weapon, and 35,000 people a year are killed on the road. By the way, you're 750 times more likely to die in your car than you would flying. So those people out there that have a fear of flying, get real, because you're much more likely to get killed on the way to the Walgreens. So remember that.
that's quite a tangent. So I'm going to say, listen, here's the deal. I think people, do this 3-point turn, parallel park, stop 3 seconds at a stop sign. Here's your license. Answer a few questions. How fast do you drive through a school zone? And now you unload these 16-year-olds onto the road who half of them don't do well in school to begin with. And now 5-10 years later, probably forgot everything. Nobody stops 3 seconds at a stop sign. Nobody yields. They speed up. People go through yellow lights. People gridlock. People tailgate. People drive 30 miles an hour in the left lane. So I believe it is an education issue.
Yep.
Thank goodness for courtesy.
Thank you. Yep.
So how can we help grow this site? Where can they reach you? How can they help spread the word of this?
Well, just go to Facebook and search for Cardesy, capital C-A-R. Those 3 letters are capitalized. T-E-S-Y, Cardesy. So think of courtesy, but just spell it with car. And like it, start following it, start posting. I'm a libertarian like you.
There we go.
There's
2 of us at least.
I'm halfway there, so 2.5.
So I don't. When I say government, I earlier I'm talking about Department of Transportation, signage, better education,
right.
etc. Not control, but it is our responsibility as people, left, right, Democrat, whoever, whatever, to be courteous of each other, treat each other like human beings. And that's kind of what we're trying to promote, is just fun. Sure, you get called out, get angry at your computer, admit that you did something if you see your car on there. But, help educate people.
I'll add one last thing before I let you sign off, Weave. And folks, don't get out of the car, right? Because people will shoot you, or they have a bat, or they're on steroids, or something's going on, right? So don't get out of the car and try to manhandle somebody. I'm sorry, person handle somebody.
Turn the other cheek.
Turn the other cheek.
And then go to Cardesy.
Yeah, and then go to Cardesy and get your passenger to take a snapshot and post your video. And then we'll let everyone know if you can post their license number or not. I'm still curious about that. I'm going to follow up with you after the show on that one. Okay, so by the way, we a few weeks ago we asked for additional iTunes reviews, and somebody posted a nice review, which I wanted to point out because I want to encourage more of that. I think it was someone. It was like American International or something like that. So someone that's maybe American living overseas.
So we're outside of southeastern Pennsylvania. Is what you're telling me.
We have an international audience, and whoever that was, I appreciate the review. It was very nice, very glowing about both of us this time, not just you, Rich. So thank you for that, and we ask you to continue to share our show, give us good reviews on iTunes and Spotify, what have you. So next week, we're going to talk, and this may be a little wonky, Rich. I'm an economics guy. But next week, we're going to talk about why the Federal Reserve, and by the way, the Fed chair is arguably the most important person in the world, the most powerful person in the world, but why our Federal Reserve has a policy of a 2% inflation rate. And just putting it in layman's terms, if there's a 2% inflation rate, that means your money is worth 30% less in 15 years. And that's a policy of the federal government. We're not going to get too wonky next week and talk about Economics 201. We're going to talk about practical reasons why that's a stupid policy.
Willy Wonka wouldn't even like that.
Well, then we'll go back to something some less wonky the next week. And then lastly, I'll say we have some vacation time coming up. And I'm curious, Rich and I talked about doing a Idiot of the Week show only for vacation. We talked about maybe replaying some best of episodes. So if you have any opinions on what we should do when we have a couple of vacation weeks this summer, send us an email, suggestions at areweidiots.com. Did you have something else or no?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay, cool. Well, as always, please remember, if what you see or hear sounds idiotic, then we're just the guys to help you sort it out. See you all next week. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Are We Idiots Show. Please subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher so you can enjoy all episodes.